Mr. Garcia, we'd like to do the invocation.
Yes. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that might affect our residents in the city of Josephine, and continue to remind us all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Next item, item 2, the approval of the minutes from the December 19, 2024 regular meeting. Members should have a copy of the minutes there for your review, and at your pleasure, you can make a motion there.
All right, I make a motion to approve the minutes from the December 19th, 2024 meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? I'm gonna at least read this. We okay? Yeah, I think so. Okay, the next item is item 3.1. I'm gonna read it into the record. Case number CA 25-001. Consider and make a recommendation to the City Council on a city-initiated request to amend the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 10A, Article 2, Section 2.2, E1, submission timing, to set a specific date each to accept the plat application each month as published in the development calendar. Is there staff comment? It was working earlier.
There we go. Off yours? Okay. No. Are all of y'all off? Oh, okay. This one's pretty straightforward. Right now, we have to accept plats for a 2-week period every month. So we have inconsistency in submittals and review timelines. All we're trying to do here is set one single date a month to accept plats for initial submittals, and then another date for resubmittals, because those go by a different deadline. So all the other development applications would continue to be accepted daily. And that's it. We just recommend approval. If you recommend approval of this request, City Council will schedule a public hearing next month for final adoption. Any questions?
I guess this is just to make staff members' lives a little easier.
Yes. yeah, thank you. Yeah, just for the record, there was somebody trying to submit a plat on Monday for tonight, and I said that's just not doable. We can't be doing that. So yeah, we need to create one set date so everybody is on the same page about timelines.
Members on page 768. So you can see the motion, the recommended motion.
The motion will be in the next slide as well on the PowerPoint, I believe.
Okay, this is mine. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, yours is not. It should be in that package pertaining to that topic, though. But I can give this to you. Okay, no problem. That is a recommended motion there, if you okay.
Okay, I move to recommend approval of case number CA25-0001- development calendar for plat submittals as presented.
Second the motion.
All in favor? Okay. All right, give me a second. Our next item is item 3.2, case number FP 25-001. Consider and make a recommendation to the City Council on a request by the applicant, Community ISD, for a final plat of the Community ISD Addition Number 2 subdivision, being approximately 79.833 acres located at 900 Main Street. Staff?
Basically where the new elementary school is located, it's an 80-acre site, so it'll be broken up into 3 lots. One of the 2 remaining lots will be developed as a middle school in the future. This plot also includes dedication of right-of-way on Greenville that is necessary for the reconstruction. There's the aerial image that shows the property that's being platted. Our engineering consultants reviewed the plat. All comments have been addressed, and we recommend approval.
Sure, I got it here. Members, do you see the, or do you have any questions, first of all?
Yeah,
No?
so what's on the property
Go
now?
ahead.
The elementary school,
Is that the elementary school there?
yes.
Okay.
So, lot 1 is the elementary school, it's already on the ground. The northern, I guess 2/3 of the property will be developed as a middle school, and I believe their current lot is reserved for future use, but there's not sure what they're going to do.
I guess any stadiums or anything, or outdoor? Just school stuff?
I still haven't had an opportunity to discuss future plans of the school district for that site, other than the Greenville Avenue reconstruction. We can look into that, and I can give you an update next week.
Okay. All right.
We have, before you make your motion, just want to point out, of course, our engineer's here, and we have a letter, it should be in your package here. And just recommending approval from Kimberly Horn.
What is that square on the left there? Says proposed community center or community facility? What is that? It's on the very left side.
So that is one of the other lots, but it still hasn't been determined what that's going to be.
Oh.
I think they're reserving it for future utility use or items like that. But, since this is just planning a lot, there's no land use or site plan required at the moment. Any project would require site plan approval from
Mhm.
There is a representative in the school district that could ask the questions about the plan. I believe they're pretty fine.
No, you see it? Okay. Oh, you got it? You see it? Did you see that? That's the one.
Okay. I move to recommend approval of case number FP 25-0001, Community ISD Addition Number 2, final plat as presented.
Second the motion.
Okay. Yes, all in favor? Okay. Thank you. Okay, gentlemen. At this time, I'm going to step out, citizens, because this next item pertains to me, so the remaining members would take it from here and wake me up when you're finished.
Hello. I'm going to open a public hearing, case number ZMA 25-0001, 830 East Street. we're going to conduct a public hearing to consider testimony and make recommendation to the City Council on a zoning request by applicant Lloyd D. Brown and May K. Brown to amend the zoning ordinance and zoning map of the City of Josephine, each being a part of the Code of Ordinances from A1 agriculture to SF1 single-family residential on approximately 1 acre of land proposed to be annexed into the City of Josephine, located at 830 East Street. Any comments from?
Let me, so staff will introduce the item, then the residents will be able to address the commission. So this is pretty straightforward. The city approved the annexation of this property on Monday. It was given a temporary agricultural zoning because it wasn't done at the same time. So the applicant is requesting just SF1. We'll go to the next slide. I believe I have the future land use designation. It's low-density residential on the future land use plan. So the zoning request and the current land use align with that. We recommend approval as presented.
Okay.
Now, any...
Oh, yes. Is there anybody present to speak in the public hearing? Okay. So we will close the public hearing, and then we will discuss, consider, and act to make a recommendation to the City Council regarding the zoning request. Any comments from our members?
So, where's the city line right now? Is that north of that house now? I mean, is that Josephine?
This version of the future land use plan is currently out of date, doesn't reflect the latest city limits. The city limits currently cross the west side of this highway or this road and extend a few feet into the subject property. But I want to say 10 to 15 feet.
Okay.
The annexation was to annex the remainder of the lot, so the entire 1 acre lot is now officially within the city limits. That's why you saw on that map, you see just those houses are the only parcels that are identified as low density residential because they're based on an existing land use.
Right.
So those homes have been there, and we're just aligning the new zone.
Right. So the development north of this property, is that Josephine already, or is
Yes.
there a gap?
Yes. So
Okay, so
this
it's just extending it down a little bit.
yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, make a motion, recommend approval of case number ZMA 25-001-830 East Street rezoning subject to the approval of petition for annexation.
I second.
All in favor?
Our next item would be 4, okay. Our next item is 3.4, case number CPA 25-001. Consider and make a recommendation to the City Council on a city-initiated request to amend the City of Josephine Comprehensive Plan, Josephine's Journey, quote unquote, by amending the future land use plan map to change the future land use topology designation of multiple parcels of land located within the City of Josephine and its ETJ, or extraterritorial jurisdiction. Yes, sir.
Members of the commission, this is an initial amendment based on my evaluation of our future land use map. I evaluated what we have based on development trends and just realistic development scenarios, particularly around the Farm to Market 6 corridor. The current low-density residential designation adjacent to the highway is practically unrealistic. It will be extremely difficult to steer development that way because it's on such important corridor. The additional item regarding this is that the outer loop that is proposed by the county, which is very likely to happen, will also detonate higher intensity uses. So the intent here is to create a mixed-use corridor that will signal to developers that we're prepared to accept higher quality and higher intensity uses and discourage some other potentially undesirable uses in the future. So though we have limited capacity and ability to control land use within the ETJ, we still can give some signals to developers to try to steer them towards building something that is of a different development character. So as I mentioned, this is really an effort to begin the process to create a distinct development character for the future of Josephine. And the next slide, yes, the next few slides will show the properties that are being proposed to be redesignated or reclassified under the mixed use. Some of these are commercial nodes that are in red on some important intersections. In the areas that are outlined in purple are the areas that are being proposed to be reclassified as mixed use. Now, I want to clarify that this designation is not zoning. So any parcel of land that is not zoned for what a developer wants to do, they have to come back to you, do the rezoning, and the rezoning, if approved, has to be in compliance with the comprehensive plan and not in this map. So part of the reason this is being done, this is also if we'll go to the next slide, please. Let me see. So while the slide changes, the focus really on this one, the larger parcels, is on the west side of the city. And then the proposed Josephine Lakeside District, and then the area north of 6 where the Shell gas station is, those are prime areas for development. So we want, those are within the city, so we want to make sure that when somebody comes in to develop, they bring us something that's the greater and best use than what our current zoning would allow. And our hope, if we don't adopt the Unified Development Code in time, we want to steer these towards planned developments like what's coming before you later this evening. If you'll go to the next slide, you'll see the eastern part. So the eastern corridor is mostly already developed with some single family, though there are some parcels that are being assembled by other developers and have the potential to be assembled by developers. So that's why you'll see a slimmer area of mixed use, and also because our city limit line is rather small. And I think we'll go to the next slide. And we recommend approval as presented. If you recommend approval, we'll schedule a public hearing for City Council on June 9th. So the procedure in the state of Texas for comprehensive plan amendments require a public hearing only at the City Council level.
Right.
So this will not be a public hearing item tonight on this one.
And you stated that this would be to the advantage of the city in the future as far as developers coming in and
Right.
on land that
Yeah, we constantly evaluate land use plans about once a year. This one was more of an immediate one because we are already getting interest from multiple developers for multiple parcels of land along the corridor. So we want to tell them, if you want to come here, you're going to do things a little different than what you're used to. So that this is really what we're seeking here as at the staff level and as a city level.
when you say what they used to, it's not going to restrict, retail businesses.
So the intent is, and if you'll look at the region, most developments now are mixed use, so they have a residential component that helps attract and support the retail uses that are envisioned in our comprehensive plan that the citizens around here have been asking for some time. The reality is that the retail follows rooftops and units. So whether these are single family, higher density or multifamily developments, the population currently, in my opinion, does not support the retail. And if it did, we would already be hearing them. They would be knocking on our door already. So we're preparing for the time when they're ready to knock on our door.
Okay. Any comments, members, questions?
So I guess when I hear mixed use, it's apartments, retail.
Right, within the land, within the city, yes. So what we're going to do as we adopt the Unified Development Code is create a mixed-use zoning district, and we're going to seek city-initiated rezonings on all those parcels to make sure that restrict the developers towards a mixed use. And yes, and it doesn't have to be vertical mixed use. I have seen developments and helped develop or design developments that have more horizontal mixed use. So in areas adjacent to existing single family, they may have, two-story townhomes. And then as they get closer to the corridor, you do start seeing the more vertical or the more intense, retail uses. So we try to kind of create a gradient that kind of from more intense along the main thoroughfares to less intense, as these approach existing neighborhoods. But as of right now, our zoning restricts buildings to 3 stories. So I don't foresee that changing unless the city, now that's only within the city limits. In the ETJ, we have no control whatsoever. So most of the area that's being identified here for mixed use is outside the city limits. So you could very well have a 5-story building right next to an existing single-family subdivision.
And that's the conundrum. What are our plans to annex some of the
We,
areas before that happens, so we have control?
well, we're very limited. We can no longer really do involuntary annexation, so it would be a matter for us talking to property owners and developing a plan as a city that could give them benefits for them, because the first thing they're going to ask is, what's in it for me? What am I getting? Because
Sure.
right now, they can build whatever they want, and if they come under our control, we're going to have more of a say in what they can do. Now, we're not against, the city isn't against development. We just want high quality development, right? So, and that's the vision fulfilled in the comp plan. So it's a matter of developing a plan and creating potentially policies, and we're exploring all options, things that we could do to entice these property owners to be annexed into the city, though I will confess it is an uphill battle. So I'm trying to do whatever we can possibly do to steer them without outright forcing them. But the next natural step would be to try to engage these property owners to be annexed into our city. But I don't have that answer right now.
Any other comments or questions, ma'am?
Yeah, I would just,
ahead.
if you're talking mixed use, if they want the apartments or townhomes or whatever to support their retail, you're talking large areas that are going to be apartments or townhomes or.
I mean, yes, and it could be very well that the entire area that's outside our jurisdiction can become multifamily, but as it is stands right now, even if our future land use designates it as low-density residential, they can still do what they feel they need to do. However, most of these are larger tracts, and developers will do a more thoughtful design process to balance things out. It's, you know, in my experience, you know, I would look at the lakeside development in Flower Mound that has a healthy balance of single-family and multifamily that complement each other, and then they complement the retail that has been coming. And even now, there's still more retail. It's not fully built out in terms of the retail because some of these retailers take a long time to meet the site selection criteria. You know, I've been, as part of this, I've been looking at some site selection criteria, and the one I've been using the most really lately has been Dunkin' Donuts, but Dunkin' Donuts requires 70,000 people within 11 miles to work, and then a much higher traffic volume than what our current FM6 corridor. So the Dunkin' Donuts requires just that. Can you imagine the more desirable or the desired ones, like, you know, say H-E-B or, you know, or higher end restaurants? So we have to really shore up our population count more so than we're at right now to be able to attract the users.
But let me just add a comment, just in general. When it comes, I think, to retail or any business, the target area is not just going to be multifamily in this spot or that spot. Just imagine drawing a circle around Josephine. There's other people that's going to come in. Depends on what's here.
Yes.
From Levada, you know, Cattle Mills. Just like we traveled many, you know, years to Rockwall, to the Walmarts before they got the Walmarts in Roy City. And then there's customers that travel through Josephine too. So the target as far as customers is not just Josephine or apartment that we may have somewhere nearby. And believe me, in my opinion, there's more than enough rooftops out there now to keep a business open.
When we developed the mixed use, in my prior community, we developed a provision that we called the vicinity test that capped the number of multifamily compared to the space for commercial, because I share your concern. We don't want all of it to become multifamily and then some other town gets the retail that we helped recruit, you know, with our population numbers. I believe that's the concern here. So there are safeguards, but, you know, that would only be limited to what's actually under our zoning. So yes, the next natural step would be to try to get more land within our boundaries so that we can control how it grows and develops.
Well, I know about the corridor from Farmersville down.
I'm sorry?
The new road coming from Farmersville, from 380 down to 30, or,
The outer loop?
yeah. So what's the latest on Route 6 as far as expansion? I know it was, and now it's been pushed out, so. I mean, if
My
you're-
understanding is there are no immediate plans for development. We're scheduling a meeting with TxDOT for later this month, if not by next month, to discuss our corridor. So we I wanna meet with them to talk about 1777 and 547, because 547 is becoming more problematic than 6, to be frank, in terms of the truck traffic that passes daily. And my office is literally right by the road, so I see the traffic, and really just trying to create a grid with the acknowledgement that the widening project may not happen on 6 for some time.
Okay. Just let me, I don't mean to be rude or interrupt, but we need to maintain a focus on this item here
Yeah.
before we go off too far.
Any other questions on the future land use map?
If there's no other questions, go ahead.
I'm just concerned that, you know, with the multifamily, the retail and everything, if 6 isn't gonna be finished for 10 years, 6 is gonna be a nightmare.
The development code requires traffic impact analysis for zoning and plats. And if there are improvements required, such as right turn lanes or turn lanes that are identified by those, then before development is authorized, those items will need to be identified and constructed. But as far as the widening project goes, we really have no control over
No,
that.
I understand, but we have control what we can control, so.
We do, but you know, one of the things that has happened is, you know, they will build something whether the highway is there. And I just drove through Highway 380 on the way here, but I believe that we have safeguards to ensure that some mitigation is done prior to the construction.
And drive down 205 into Rockwall.
I drove 380 for the first time east of McKinney today on my way in. Yeah, it was brutal, but
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah.
Okay, members, if it's no other discussion or questions or comment, is there a motion on this item?
Yes, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of case number CPA 25-0001, future land use map amendment, mixed use as presented.
Is there a second? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I'll second.
And all in favor? And again, this is a map. This is a map. Okay. Okay. It's not approving anything. Okay. The next item.
Yes.
Yes. Item 3.5. 3.5 is the open public hearing, case number ZAPD 25-001, 408 East Cook Street. Conduct a public hearing to consider testimony and make a recommendation to the City Council on a request by the applicant Jag Singh to amend the zoning ordinance and zoning map of the City of Josephine, each being a part of the Code of Ordinance from single-family residential to a planned development with base zoning district, a local retail, districts of local retail, and multifamily residential. Approximately 9.69699 acres of land generally located at 408 East Cook. Okay. Now, as we get into the public hearing, let me just speak on a few guidelines. We read the item into the record, okay? So each person will have 3 minutes to speak. We're going to let the applicant present his case first, and then anyone that in favor of the zoning change, you can speak, and then anyone against it, then you'll speak. The applicant and developer at that point can come back to rebut any opposition to the statements that they heard, or if you would make notes of any questions that you may get from the citizens, so you can answer those when you come back to the podium, okay? What we do not want when the applicant presenter comes back to the podium to address the committee is questions back and forth to the speaker or the presenter, because we'll be here all night. Again, you will have your 3 minutes to express your opinion, and if there's questions, you can speak about your questions, of course, within your 3 minutes, and they will take notes and respond to those questions or respond to any statements that's maybe a rumor, just they want to rebuttal. Okay. And then at that point, the Planning and Zoning Committee will ask also during that time questions when he comes back to the podium, and then we'll make a motion and vote. So at this point, we can get started with the presentation.
I'll present first and then the applicant. Pretty straightforward. It's just under 10 acres. You can see the property aerial image right here. It's at the south side of Cook Street and on the southern end of Lloyd's Lane. These are multiple parcels that are being assembled by the developer. Seems like we lost it, but that's fine. I got my staff report here. The plan is to separate this planned development into two tracks. Tract 1 will be multifamily residential, consisting of approximately 200 multifamily units built over 2 phases. And we can go to the next slide, please. The commercial tract is Tract 2, which is directly adjacent to Cook Street, and this would consist of 2 separate commercial structures. No end user has been identified. Once the site plan is approved, then the developer can speak to their timing and schedule. Those will be built in 1 phase and could be subdivided into different pad sites as the developer may need. The purpose of planned development is, and we'll go to the next slide, please. In your staff report, you would see all the PD concept plan, the ancillary concept plan, and the specific plan development design standards that are being proposed for this plan development. So as a reminder, a plan development is basically a custom-made zoning district that takes from the current code and provides departures or additional design regulations that may not be contained in the code. And the intent is to provide you something that is better than what it could be allowed by the traditional code. So a lot of people see it as cutting corners, but it's actually the opposite. It's to get something that's better and really enhances the city. It's not just a variance request. In many instances, as I was reviewing this, our code of ordinances lacked any meaningful regulation. So for example, there is no landscaping required for anything other than single family. There are no recreation spaces required for multifamily development. So a lot of these were basically drafted from scratch, but as you will look at the exhibits, you will see that I believe the applicant incorporated pretty much everything that was asked of them. We also, to avoid certain undesirable uses, we grabbed a list and we prohibited many uses to ensure that when this site develops, we get retail uses or restaurant uses that generate a greater degree of sales tax revenue in addition to property tax revenue. If we'll go to the next slide, please. I believe the next slide is the concept plan. No, that's okay. No, that's all right. So this is the concept plan that shows the proposed multifamily development on the south side of this development. It has 2 access points through the commercial tract. Those will not be gated. It has an emergency entry and exit on Lloyd's Lane. That will be gated and will only be used by public safety in case of an emergency. If they cannot access the site through the front entries, they will make entry through this Lloyd's Lane access. So that was done just to have a necessary point of entry exit for emergency uses. The people in Lloyd's Lane should not have any issues with traffic because there will be none practically. The southeast side has the wet retention pond, which will be landscaped and amenitized. So they will be adding a 5-foot wide trail around the perimeter of the pond, benching, lighting, and a fountain. So that will be part of their open space. If we go to the northern part, as you can see, track 2, they're showing in concept a drive-through restaurant building and then a shell building that could be used for commercial or restaurant uses. The user, again, as I said, it will be determined later. But this concept plan is conceptual in nature, but anything that comes in for site plan has to be in general conformance with this. So if there's a major deviation from what they bring at the site plan stage, they're going to have to come back to y'all for approval. Next slide, please. And actually, we can go 2 slides. This is the landscape plan, and this is what it would look like at full build out. So as I mentioned earlier, there was practically no landscaping required. So the developer is adding all of this at the city's request to enhance the quality of the development. You will see the concentration of landscaping on the southeast side of the by the pond, because again, that's going to become a recreational feature for their residents. Next slide, please. So I don't think they can hear me. Next, can we go to the next slide, please? So this is their recreations plan. So since we didn't have standards, we added a standard that they have to provide 1 acre of open space per 100 dwelling units. So they need to provide 2 acres. Naturally, they can't provide the entire space. So the areas that are color coded here are the areas that they're asking to count towards meeting this open space requirement. And then the balance will be paid at a rate of $2 per square foot. So based on this early estimate, because it's still subject to change at the site plan, in addition to these recreation spaces for the residents, they're going to pay the remainder as a fee to the city park fund. And right now, the fee was estimated at about $70,000. Next slide, please. This is their unified sign plan. So they are proposing to have 2 monument signs at the entries, at each of the 2 entries of the commercial development, and then monument signage at the entrance of the multifamily development. And obviously, there are business signs that would be allowed under our code. So the change in the monument signs is to ensure that we don't have clutter, and also we reduce the height from what's, I believe, the typical allowed is 10. We brought that down to 8 feet, which is field signage. You know, it's becoming less and less of a thing now. Next slide, please. So we worked with the applicant over the past month to develop these design regulations and revise the concept plans based on our feedback. They've incorporated practically every element that's been required. So because they did, this has been a really quick back and forth. We will do one more review prior to City Council, so it may still be subject to change. And the applicant is developing a traffic impact analysis that is required for this process, and it'll be submitted and reviewed prior to City Council. So the City Council meeting, we will have the findings of the TIA. They will have been reviewed by our consulting engineer by then. Next slide, please. So this, as of right now, this project does not meet the future land use plan. The properties, as you can see, are designated under the low-density residential. So the prior item for the future land use map amendment, if that is approved, then this rezoning can be approved. If the future land use map isn't amended to mixed use, I cannot recommend approval, and I'll be withdrawing my recommendation of approval, and City Council will not be able to approve the rezoning. So that their companion items contingent on well, this one relies on the future land use map amendment to go through. Next slide, please. We provided notice of the public hearing in the newspaper of circulation here in our county, in our area. Letters went to property owners located within the city limits within 200 feet, and a letter to the school district required by the local government code was also sent. As of right now, we've received 3 letters of support and 0 letters of opposition. Next slide. We recommend approval as presented, subject to the applicant addressing staff comments identified during a final review. I did amend the motion because the one in the staff report didn't contain the caveat about the future land use map, so that's why it's in red in this slide. And I'll have that at the very end of the PowerPoint after the applicant has presented in the public, if you want to make that motion. Next slide, please. So do you have any questions for staff before the applicant presents? Or you can wait until after the applicant presents and the
Yeah, I would like to, I was going to ask the applicant if he had any comments. we are really accustomed to the presentation by the applicant and then a follow-up with comments from our staff. Because the way it has been presented, you're making a presentation and a recommendation. We haven't heard a presentation from the
Yeah, I
Okay,
mean,
good. So, Mr. Singh, can you come to the podium if you have something to say, please, sir? And then we have questions, then we can ask you or follow up with the staff. But it seems like we've already, it's like the city has made a recommendation. We haven't heard the presentation from the applicant.
Okay, mic's off.
Okay, I'm gonna turn.
So, my name is Jag. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd just like to start off by saying thank you to everyone on city staff. We've been working diligently to get this product where it is now, and we feel that it's at the point where, you know, it benefits everyone, and we'll discuss that during this presentation that I have set up. So, pretty much like I said, my name is Jag. Our engineers are Arrive Architecture, and we're an associates. Next slide, please. Pretty much, city staff has already gone over the site layout here, and this is just a brief of it. We're proposing pretty much a multifamily development along with the commercial aspect. And we'll discuss the benefits of it here going on to the next slide. The next slides will have the renderings of the product. This right here is the clubhouse and the office. There's going to be multiple amenities within this. We're proposing a pet spa, mail kiosks, things of that nature, you know, open space inside so, you know, residents can have like birthday parties and things of that nature, resort style pool with decking, area to have, you know, barbecue, grilling, all that stuff. So if we move on to the next slide, we'll see the actual building renderings. Right here, we're proposing 3-story buildings with at least 3 different material types. So this is a concept of that here. And then next slide, please. So these are just a few of the benefits of the project. Number one is we are, you know, proposing a mixed use of commercial and multifamily. There is a need for this type of development here in the city, especially on the retail side. There's demand here for, you know, restaurant and retail space, so we did want to incorporate that into the development here. The multifamily portion also helps the city diversifying its housing options for residents, because right now Josephine is dominated by just single-family, you know, homes. So this will help diversify that. Anyone, you know, that's working in the city, you know, teachers, firefighters, if they're starting off their career, this is a really good alternative because buying a home is very expensive. You have to put like 20% down. And this will help, you know, like most of the younger generation in the city kind of kickstart their career. And be able to live in a nice upscale development. Next, it's also going to help the city generate tax revenue. This property is within city limits, so that's one of the biggest benefits here. Another big thing that this is going to help the city with is we're going to partner up with the city in trying to bring a fire truck here. I think there's currently 13,000 to 14,000 residents in the service area of Josephine, but only about half of those people are within city limits. So by bringing a fire truck to the city and the fire truck can serve the service area, it's going to definitely make those 14,000 people a lot safer. So this project pretty much addresses the retail and housing needs, and with you know, collaboration with city staff, I think that we've worked hard and created a win-win situation for everyone, not just the city and the developer, but also the residents. And this project definitely aligns with the city's ultimate goals and where the city wants to head in the future. Next slide, please. So these are just a few of the amenities of each of the tracks. The multifamily portion of it is going to have an on-site management company at all times. Like I said, the leasing center is going to have a business center inside, mail kiosk, pet spa. These are just a few of the amenities. The units on the insides, they're going to have vinyl flooring throughout each unit, covered balconies, you know, energy efficient design, quartz countertops. This isn't like your typical just, we thought this through thoroughly, and we want to kind of bulletproof the development for the future as well. So same thing on the commercial side, those are just a few of the benefits. One thing I'd like to point out is, on the south side of Highway 6, there is a lack of sewer right now. So this project here is gonna help bring the sewer across the road, and so all developments can start along the Highway 6 corridor. So that's just a few of the benefits of the project there. Walkability is another thing, future phasing flexibility. We're offering cross-access easements within, and not only within, also to the parcels adjacent as well. So that's pretty much it for the presentation. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask away.
Okay, I'm sure you'll be back at the podium a little later. Thank you, sir. We're going to continue with the public hearing. So again, as I stated earlier, this is an open public hearing concerning this item. So is there anyone that'd like to take the 3 minutes to speak for the item? And then we'll go for anyone against the item on the agenda. You got two choices. You can speak now. That's close enough. Okay.
Wait, quiet back there. Okay. All right. The only thing that I observed in the development agreement, or all of the little 44 pages, was that under other development considerations, the Chapter 14 zoning ordinance 20.4.3.4 that says, which contains a provision that states that the entire project is not completed within 2 years, City Council may review the original conceptual plan to ensure its validity, shall not apply. This is changing what we have in our zoning ordinance. And it was just 3 little words that were stuck in there that I caught, and I just didn't want the developer changing our zoning code unless you guys knew that was in there. I'm sure you did. I was glad to hear about the sewer going on the other side of the highway. That's great. If we can get it down the north side of 6, that would be wonderful. But I do wonder about water, since we're under water restrictions, and how's that going to work with 200 apartments and all the people that go with it. And the traffic study. And I think those, who was talking and went off? Okay, let me check that off. Water, traffic, commercial, we discussed. Oh, the 50-foot, there was a 50-foot instead of 30-foot in our zoning ordinance. It says it can go up to 50-foot. So my question is, if we're going to get this fire truck from the developer, no, 50, a building that if it were to come back in 2 years and be 50 foot, would the fire truck handle that? Because, okay, forget it. I'm almost done anyway. Those were my things I just wanted to bring up that I saw.
For that the speakers was for the I said it in favor, so that was in favor. Is there anyone against, or is there anyone else in favor? Or if you have a comment, your citizens, you have 3 minutes to speak. It's not a problem. Okay. So anyone against? Okay. And I think city planner, you mentioned the number of letters that went out already to the residents within 200 feet. So there's no one else to speak on this topic. We'll close the public hearing and allow the speaker, the presenter to come back if there's a question on this end. If not, we can let the Our city planner also follow up. So any questions on this end concerning this item?
Yeah, I guess the water thing was a good point. So what, we just order more water, or how's that work?
My understanding is that the water modeling that has been done expects an increase in development and use. One thing that I will touch on is that the city, as part of the Unified Development Code, will be adopting policies aimed at water conservation. There's always a conversation about supply, but there's never a conversation about how to reduce our consumption. And that's really a big part of the issue is, you know, most water consumption is grass and landscaping. So the landscaping that is being required of this project will be designed to be less water intensive, and we're, for example, removing the requirement of 100% sod in all, you know, ground cover, because that really is a larger portion. But we will bring back and confirm the modeling, and I can have that included in the staff report at the City Council, so that that is presented to the public at that time.
And then what sewer plant would that go to?
I do not have the answer to that at the moment. So given that this is simply land use and determining what could be built there, the next step will be to do the engineering construction plans and the site plan, which is basically the how. So at that point, that will be determined. I believe it'll go to the southern wastewater treatment plant near Magnolia Point, or Magnolia. Oh, sorry. North, my apologies. See, so, but that will be addressed at that time, and you know, site plans won't be approved or construction plans won't be approved if we don't have the capacity. And that brings me to my next point regarding the fire truck. So there is a provision in our zoning ordinance that requires fire protection for development. So given that the scope of this development requires additional fire protection than what can be provided, it will be the developer's responsibility to enter into a funding agreement with the city. Given that there is an ample lead time on fire provision, we added that requirement in our plan development standards that says that they will not get a certificate of occupancy if we don't have the adequate fire protection to provide to this development. So if the developer proceeds with construction, it will be at their risk if we don't have the fire truck in time. I also wanted to follow up on the provision of the 2 years for the validity of the concept plan. That's really a relic. State law and really land use law and court cases have determined that zoning is a permanent classification, and that includes conceptual plans adopted by the city, right, as part of a plan development. So that is the reason why it was moved, is to just provide legal certainty, and for prospective developers that if they come and zone a property, you know, say the market crashes next month, right? It could take some time for them to come back, but the zoning is still there. To answer a concern about how we're changing the zoning code, that is precisely what a plan development is intended to do. Is it customizes the zoning code to apply to a particular development. So this plan development standards exhibit is really in great detail because we have to go through every single applicable provision of our code of ordinances. So if it's not specifically customized here, it applies as written in our code, and as it could be amended over time as well. And I believe there was a question about the height, 50 feet. That's just based on the architectural design of the development, and again, it is based on the future requirement of the fire protection. So we'll be able to provide that adequate protection when this is open. Any other questions?
Yeah, there was always like that third story that would be the question as far as, you know, would the fire department be able to get to that? I think that's always been a concern. We've talked about that in the past.
So when the time comes that the developer submits a site plan to move forward with development, at that time, that's when that funding agreement, and at that time, we will identify what equipment is necessary to serve this development. And you know, a lot of the conversation when it comes to this provision is about the fire truck, but it's also just basic, you know, fire sprinklering, all these fire-rated walls, things like that. So that are required by our fire code with our local amendments. So North Texas specifically has a little bit more of a strict set of requirements for multifamily than other places. So and even within the region, some cities adopt even more stringent regulations. So, for example, Fort Worth, the western side of the Metroplex, tends to have more lax requirements than the eastern half of the Metroplex when it comes to multifamily. But all of those things would be addressed at the time of the site plan.
And then the other thing would be the traffic, obviously, on 6 that will have to, you know, they'll have to absorb a lot of those, you know, people coming in and out of there. So I would think that they would probably do like the middle median like they've done on some of the other turn-ins and turnouts and stuff like that, especially out of the property, and then possibly in the middle lane going into the property.
This site was a little bit difficult to design because it's basically 2 entries, and then on the northern side there's one in the middle. The developers team tried to design one entry that could align, but it's just based on the amount of traffic, you needed more than 1 entry.
Right.
And the developer did not want to use Lloyd's Lane because of the condition of the street and to be a good neighbor. So that is why we closed off the access on Lloyd's Lane. We just said that's just for emergency only. It is our understanding, based on the developers' conversations with TxDOT as they were designing this project, that there will not be a full median opening for this specific development, but for the existing development to the north. So there will be a one of the entries, the one on the east side. If we can go back a couple of slides to the concept plan, please. The one on the east side of 6, on the commercial side, will be a right in and right out only, and then the one on the left will also be right in and right out, but you'll be able to get onto the turning lane and do a U-turn. So it's going to be a little bit of an engineering challenge to make it happen, but it will have to happen. And if the TIA identifies a right turn lane, for example, that would be the developer's responsibility, and that would be built immediately. So, you know, traffic coming eastbound on 6 that are needing to turn, that will need to be required to be built as part of the site plan process. And we've had that happen with multifamily in the past, but we will not be able to provide the requirements of what needs to be done until the TIA spells that out for us.
Thank you.
Mr. Singh, I have a question for you, sir. In the front, I think you mentioned it's a local retail or commercial. You have 2 lots there. I know it may be kind of early. Did you have any idea what you will hope to go there?
We don't have an end user yet.
Mm-hmm.
We want to bring something food-based, quick service.
Food-based, okay.
Preferably with the drive-thru.
Now, this development, in your opinion, it's not dependent upon the apartments in the back, right? I mean, as far as, it would help, but...
The intention is to actually develop a front prior to multifamily in the back.
Okay,
That will help recapitalize.
Okay.
And replenish the funds to be able to do the fire truck and all that. So traditionally, what most developers do is they kind of disregard the commercial aspect. And they just go on and build the multifamily, and they don't really care about the commercial aspect.
okay,
We're taking the complete opposite approach here.
good. Okay, let's see. The community around that location there, because I've driven down Lois Lane, and I know you said it's cut off there, so no one from the apartments would be going down Lois Lane cutting.
Correct.
Okay.
That's only for emergency users for the city.
So there's a way to get in through to those apartments from Lois Lane, or no?
So there's a gate that's going to be
A gate.
closed at all times,
Mm-hmm.
and only the city will have access to be able to open and close.
Okay, so that,
Not the residents.
those residents won't be bothered except that, you know,
They will not experience any traffic.
Any
other
traffic.
than the city going, if they ever have to.
sure. Okay, okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Members, you have any questions for
I got a
Mrs.
question
Singh?
for Mr. Singh here. As far as the apartments, how many bedrooms? One, how many bedrooms are you guys planning? One, two, three?
20% is gonna be one bedroom, and then we have about 70% two bedroom, two
Okay.
bath, and then the remaining 10% will be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what increase in people, water usage, traffic, all that stuff.
Well, I can't, just a general comment. I have met a police officer that would have loved to lived here in Josephine if there was apartments. And I think about the teachers, and we have 2 schools. How many of those teachers would love take 10 minutes to get to the school instead of driving from wherever they may drive it? So there's some positive things about the apartments. It's no doubt. And everybody doesn't want a house, and everybody can't probably afford these homes. So I have nothing negative to say about some apartments. That's just my comment there. Okay. Any other comments or questions for Mrs. Singh?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you to city staff. We've been working for about 5 to 6 months now, and they've been fantastic.
Great, great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And so our engineers hasn't gotten involved in this, or yes?
No,
Not yet,
so
not
this
yet.
is,
It's
this
too
is
early.
high level, just basic land use. There is no need for engineering to be involved at this point because there are no technical materials being provided. That will be
just
addressed
the
at the time of site
rezoning.
plan. Yeah, and at the time of site plan. And if for any reason there's a major deviation at the time of site plan required by, say, the pond needs to be bigger, and they need to lose parking or reconfigure their site. If there's a major deviation from the concept plans, they have to come back for an amendment to the plan development. That is
sure.
a safeguard that is done because, you want to make sure that they actually build what they told you all they would be building.
So, of course, this is just zoning, so the water concern that people always have, that would be addressed a little later, and sewer and everything else. When
Yes,
we get
but
to-
we can answer the question about the capacity
Sure.
also, just in general at the council meeting.
Okay. Okay.
Just answer the question in general at the council meeting, is that what you just said?
Yeah, we can't get too specific about the project because we don't have the specific details, but I can add a section on my report that talks about, water consumption and what our capacity could handle, just in general.
Right.
Can't be too specific.
Right, because that's 500 people, maybe, down there,
Potentially, yeah.
which is 25% increase in population. We're
Um,
at 2,000 now, right? For the city, I'm just talking the city.
Actually, my last report has a very whopping increase
Which
that
is?
just got released. I'll rather touch on that at the very end, but it's 8,800
8,000?
as of a year ago.
Thank you.
It's based on city census tract, and I don't have the full map, but it's still considered City of Josephine. And we have to go by that official data.
Yeah, I don't agree with those numbers.
Okay. But initially, as far as the council and additional information, they're going to be presented with a concept plan like we're doing.
Everything that was presented to y'all is what's going to city council.
And then the engineers gets involved and we'll get
At
into the
time-
details.
At the time of site plan engineering, and our engineer will be reviewing everything that is submitted by the applicant. Fire marshal gets involved at the same time as well. All those things are addressed.
Okay. 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 Members, any other comments or statements or questions? Okay. If not, I think did you want to, or we have it in front of us, or I have it, your recommendation.
Yeah,
Other
I'm
than-
trying to get to them.
Okay. Other than what we have here?
It's
Okay.
slightly different because I've asked to add the a second condition being that the future land use plan has to be amended prior to adopting this plan development.
Okay.
You could read the motion that's on the staff report and just add anything you want to add, but just oh, there it is. It's in red.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, I see at the top? Okay. Okay.
Okay, I move to recommend approval of case number ZAPD 25-0001, the Fields of Josephine Plan Development, subject to the applicant addressing any staff comments identified during a final review prior to the city council meeting and contingent on the approval of the future land use amendment.
Is there a second?
Yes, I second that motion.
And all in favor? Okay. I'm gonna let you have a report, sir.
Yeah, just very
Okay,
quick,
then
so-
I'll come behind you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we opened up, you may have seen it in an email I sent this week, interviews for the Planning and Zoning Commission. We're expected to have those next month, and then the City Council will be appointing based on your recommendations at the July meeting. With that said, Juneteenth is next month, on June 19. That's the date that our June meeting is on, so I'm asking if we could make a change. Have y'all decided on a date?
Are you going to change it from June 19th to
Yes.
next week? Because I'm gone the week, I always leave the week after that.
I had recommended maybe the day before, June 18.
Oh, that's fine.
On
Yeah,
Wednesday. Would that work for?
Yeah.
Good for me right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And we'll let the candidates know because you're going to be conducting the first round of interviews for the applicants at that time. So, so yes, and then going back to the census. So I'll have to look back at what they consider to be Josephine, but based on their data, they said Josephine City, and I mean I would imagine this does not include the entire service area. But we are the fastest growing city in Texas over the past 4 years, 313% increase to 8,807 residents. I imagine that might not be entirely within the city. We lost our ranking as the fastest growing city year over year. That went to Princeton. We're number 8 over the last, between July 2023 and 24. We're fast tracking the adoption of the Unified Development Code. As I mentioned, this shouldn't be this long, this document of the plan development standards for the multifamily, because we had to do them from scratch. We shouldn't be doing that every time. We're working closely with the county on the master thoroughfare plan update. I've been to a couple of public meetings. We've had staff meetings with their county engineer as well to go over the outer loop and other thoroughfares in our area. Once that plan at the county level is finalized, we're gonna update ours to provide a supplementary grid that provides more connectivity between new and established neighborhoods. We want to, understanding the fact that TxDOT may take a long time to widen their roads, we got to create our own pathways. And as these sites develop, the developers will be required to build these roads, and pay the necessary impact fees for their impact on the infrastructure. We're also working with the county on their regional trail plan, and then our own Parks and Trails Master Plan is under development. There was a public meeting last month. It was well attended. We got some really good feedback, and I'm already starting to incorporate some of that in some of these plan developments that are coming in. So that's all I have on my end, other than just I'm really happy to be here. It's month number, it'll be 2 months next week, so. But I'm really happy to get to meet y'all finally, and looking forward to working with y'all.
Well, let me follow up on that. My last comment before we close. Over the years, Patty Brooks has been wearing a lot of caps in this city. I mean, she's the person to go to. I moved here nearly 13 years ago, I had to get with her to find out how to turn on them electricity and get the water running. And then my other backup has always been Mr. Kurt over there, he's right from the
Man.
beginning. So
The myth, the legend.
this meeting here is the first meeting with a city planner. So Mr. Miguel Inclán, he's going to take a lot of the work off of Ms. Brooks as far as what she's been doing with the city as far as the planning and zoning. So of course, I'd like to welcome you, and I know it might be a shock to everybody. This process we went through tonight is different than what we've done in the 7 years or so that I've been here. But welcome you, and thank you at the same time, Patty. You're going to still be wearing those caps because you've always been a go-to person around here. But Miguel is going to help her out a lot. So what you've seen here tonight, as far as the staff recommendation, is his background information and due diligence to help make this a more professional and thorough process. And more information. We certainly have a lot of information that you didn't see that's in our notes up here because of the work he's done. So thank you, Mr. Miguel, and thank you, Mr. Singh, and your staff for the presentation, and thank you, citizens, for coming out. Members, anything else? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
I second.
Thank you.